Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newest episode of Music Theory Mondays. Thank you all for joining me again. Today we are taking a look at the song In a Sentimental Mood, jazz standard. All right, and this song is chock full of great jazz stuff. We are in the home key of D minor. However, we are going to modulate to G minor, the relative major F major, and also D flat major, which happens to be just a chromatic half step lower than the original key of D minor. So this is going to move through many tonal centers, and we're going to talk about all of the ways that it does it. We're starting off in D minor. All right. Now what's really cool about this song is that it does a little motif on the D minor itself. It does a D minor to a D minor major 7 to a D minor 7 to a D minor 6. All right, so what do you notice about that? If you listen to the top note of the chord, which would be considered the melody note, you hear a chromatic descending movement, adding color and movement to the progression. It's all on the root D. All right, they're all D minor chords. All right, that progression is then going to quickly modulate temporarily to the key of G minor. So we're going to do a G minor chord, all right, to a G minor major 7, sticking with the motif we just started with the D minor, to a G minor 7, to a G minor 6. All right, so we're doing a D minor with the major 7, minor 6, and we're quickly modulating to G minor, where we're doing the major 7, minor 6. So we're doing the same thing from two different chords. Now technically, the chord G minor is the 4 chord in the key of D minor, but you could also look at it as like a temporary jump to the key of G minor, which would be a closely related key, as D minor has 1 flat and G minor has 2 flats. All right, the next chord is an A7, all right, which is acting as the 5 chord, which then brings us back to D minor 7. So we have a 5 to 1 in D minor 7. So let's just simplify this. We're doing a D minor with 3 other D minor chord variations leading into the 4 chord G minor, doing the same 3 chord variations in the same order, capitalizing on the 5 chord and bringing it back home to the 1 chord. Okay, so far we've got a nice motif. We're dealing with a 1-4-5 in the key of D minor. The next chord is a D7. So again, we're sticking with that D. A lot of D's in this song. D7 being a dominant chord. It is the 5 chord of either G major or G minor. In this case, it's kind of standing alone because we're not going to fully resolve to either of those keys. But what's really cool about this part is that the D7 leads to a G minor 7, which is kind of like a 5 to 1 resolution. However, the G minor 7 is playing 2 jobs here, okay? It's doing the resolution as the 1 chord from the D7, but it's also acting as a 2 chord in the key of F major 7. So now we have our first inclusion of the key of F major 7, which is the relative major of D minor. All right, what that means is if you take the D minor scale, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and D, and just start on the 3rd note, you get F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Same notes, different starting point, D minor, F major, relative, okay? So again, let's recap that. D7 is a 5. It resolves to the G minor 7 as a 1, but it's a temporary 1 because it's also acting as a 2 chord. And now we're going to bring in something called the tritone substitution. I've done a couple videos on this in the Music Theory Mondays playlist. If you need to go back and check them out, please do. And I'll throw those in the description for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the G minor 7 to what's called a G flat 7, which is a dominant chord. And then we're going to bring it down to F major 7. All right, so what that creates here is the G minor 7's the 2 chord, and then we're throwing in the tritone substitution in G flat 7, and then we're bringing it home to the 1 on F major 7. So it's a 2, what would normally be a 2-5-1 in the key of F major 7, but the typical C7, which happens to be a tritone away from the tritone substitution, is being substituted out for that G flat 7. And of course, not only does it sound cool, it's an alternate way of resolving, but it also creates a nice descending bass line from G to G flat to F. All right, so there's that section. That's going to lead us on to the final section before we resolve the song in full. We're jumping directly into the key of D flat major. After the F major 7, we're met with an A flat 7. All right, which is acting as, I'm sorry, let's do that again. All right, there we go. That A flat 7 is acting as the 5 chord in the key of D flat major 7. All right, and that D flat major 7 is the 1. So we're doing a 5-1 in D flat major. That B minor 7 is acting as the 6 chord in the key of D flat major, which then leads us to an E flat minor 7, which is acting as the 2 chord in the key of D flat major. And then finally, the A flat 7, which is still acting as the 5. So we end up with a 1-6-2-5 in the key of D flat major. And of course, why choose D flat major as a chord to go to? Well, we're basically in home base on D minor, right? D minor and D flat are just simply a half step apart. So that transition is very smooth and acceptable to the ear. We're then going to be met with the last really cool movement. We're going to go, actually, there's 2 more things I want to discuss. A few chords ahead, we're met with an E flat 7, which is the 5 chord in the key of A flat. But this is what's known as a secondary dominant chord, because we're not going to resolve to A flat. We are going to resolve to A flat 7, which is the 5 of D flat major 7. All right, so we're doing a 5 as the E flat 7 to the 5 of A flat 7, which then resolves to the 1 of D flat major 7. And then we do the 1 in D flat major, we do the 6 in B flat minor, the E flat minor 7's the 2, the A flat 7's the 5, and then we're met with the last really cool section. We're throwing in the G minor 7. We saw that earlier in the song. That is the 2 chord in the key of F major, which is the relative major of the original home key of D minor. And then we're throwing in the C7, which is 5 in F major, and then we're making a really cool move to D minor. All right, now, if we're looking at D minor as the 6 chord in the key of F, we've done a 2-5-6 to get us back into the original key of D minor. Of course, D minor and F major are relative, so that shift goes kind of unnoticed. It's not very awkward at all. It works very well. So, guys, I hope this makes sense. Again, this is not a performance video. This is an analysis video, playing the chords for context. And I really hope you're learning stuff. This song is really cool in that it uses relative major. It uses keys that are a half step away, and it's using secondary dominance, tritone substitutions. We're pulling from a lot of different jazz elements. Really interesting stuff. Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment. If you like what I do and you want to support me with as little as $1 for one time, buy me a coffee. Link in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching.